look around and stuff. Hopefully my green screen will hold on this. And I got another topic for the day, and that is getting a website on Google. So Google will search it properly and present it. Um, I've had a website for a really long time, and I guess I was more lucky than anything else when I initially did it to get it up on Google. And in retrospect, I probably understand now that more than half of it probably really wasn't ever on Google to start with. Um, what I'm trying to highlight out is if you, and this is what I did, I had an old website. It was up on Google. I decided it needed a renovation, and the renovation got extreme. For example, I went from, I initially had gone from HTTP to HTTPS, but there was a redirect you could put at the server side that automatically took care of that. And so that didn't really impact my website on Google search at the time. You could still find the website on Google, even though I had switched to secure. The problem came in after that I decided that there was some pruning I needed to do with some folders that had been on Google. I didn't want to present them anymore. And I edited those out and republished, submitted it to Google again, put an update on the web, FTP up to my server, and then it was put out on the web, and then I asked Google to re-index. Well, what I didn't understand, and this is one of the key points I'm trying to make here, if you're unfamiliar with Google, which most people are, and how they do their searches, one of the main keys is they cache website. What I mean by cache, they have a copy. They keep copies of when they crawl a website. That is, robots go down and see what content is on a particular website. They make an image of it or backup of it, and that's what they keep. And that's what they wind up indexing and connecting to other, like parameters. If I had typed in a word BMW X5 transmission, and I had an article about it, they might decide that it's worthy to attach to the concept word or principle of BMW X5 transmission, and my article might come up somewhere in the search results for that. Okay, well, I eliminated two subjects. One was something I called links, and the other one was called images. And images were photographs, and I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And links was just links to various interesting other websites. So I eliminated that from my published on my server website. Well, guess what? Good old Google had a cache of those things and said, well, wait a minute. It kept trying to, it didn't want to erase or clear those things. So that's when I got in and started searching around trying to figure out, once I realized that it keeps a cache, how do you remove something from Google Cache? Once you've published a page on the internet, and when you publish to a server, the server makes it available on the internet. That's one thing. And if you give the address, the URL to someone of your particular website, the home page for it, they'll be able to get to it. It's on the web. It's on the internet, all right, but it is not necessarily indexed and available for search results from Google or any other search engine. Each search engine has its own way of doing it. All I'm finding they're all pretty similar in a way, And the idea of caching is that if the site were to go down for some reason, which sites do now and then, servers go down, at least Google would have a cache image to present if a search came up for BMW transmissions and my content was originally included into that indexing search. They would show that, whether it was the current version of my website or not. Okay, that's the idea behind caching. But once it's in there, how do you get rid of it? Okay, so stumbling and fumbling around and not knowing anything about this, I came across the concept that says sitemap. You need to tell search engines, give them what's called a sitemap of every valid URL on your website. And I didn't have a way of doing that. If you use certain automated programs now like WordPress, I think, probably will create a sitemap for you and upload it to your website on your server, and that will be available to any search engine that tries to crawl or see the content on the internet on your website. Okay. Sitemap. I created a new sitemap. It did not include links or images, and Google just ignores the sitemap. Sitemap might give some benefit, but I haven't yet achieved any benefit out of creating a sitemap, and I did have to buy a tool to do that. And it appears to be correct. I run sitemap, and at the same time I also had to buy another tool which helped me find errors in my website. And these were hyperlink errors, and the issue here comes in, and I again warning you, if you're creating a website, you have to pay real close attention to consistent naming of things. The case, and case meaning capital letters or lowercase letters, is website URL is different for a lowercase letter. Same URL with one uppercase letter is a different URL, okay, to search engines. So when you're putting together your website, you got to be aware that URLs and therefore hyperlinks and the names of folders and all that kind of stuff has to be consistent. And that was something that I either forgot or did not know, and so I had a lot of errors like that. And when Google went to search for a hyperlink, and I had told it was a lowercase u and it had an uppercase U in it, it couldn't find the link. So rather than try to muddy my way through and sort all that out, I bought a tool that searches all the hyperlinks automatically. Now the tool that I use is really old to create the website, and it will do that. It will highlight out link errors, and I use that as well. So I use these two tools to find all the broken hyperlinks, and they were primarily broken because of case usage. I use an uppercase C instead of a lowercase, or vice versa. And that includes in the use of folders, where I have a subfolder that contains some content that the main page uses. So folders and hyperlinks and all those names that you use everywhere as a part of a URL has to be consistent. And the only way to clean that up is to run a tool or whatever you use to create your website in. But every time you publish to your server, it's really not such a problem, because you can give the URL of the new view of your website to someone, and they will find everything that you have there. But web search engines, remember, they kept caches. They keep caches of things. So even though when you update to your server side, you go over to Google and you bring up, I now know I've gone to Google and said, here's a website I want you to try to incorporate in your search, and I've made changes to it, so will you please re-index it? That is, will you recrawl it and eliminate, that's the word that I was used wrong, eliminate things that aren't there anymore and change the stuff that is there anymore. And what happens is every time I would upload an update to my server and request a re-index, or Google had gone on its own and been recrawling, because that's what they do, they recrawl anything that is on the internet. They recall it and they found a different URL. Okay, well, it may or may not conflict with one they already had in their cache, so they flag it as a duplicate. The pages were the same, except the URLs were case sensitive different. Now, to them, from a search point of view, that's a duplicate page, and that's a no-no. They don't like duplicate pages. So they flag that, and there's also other things they look at, and because they have a cache page, as well as you've told them now to re-index or look at your new content, massive amounts of cache pages wind up being in Google that cause knots, all kind of knots. So you can request and re-index as many times as you want, and it's going to find old stuff that's not even there anymore, and it might take a year or longer for it to sort out what is gone. That page was a 404 return. It's not on the website anymore, but we still have it in cache, so we're going to continue to leave it there for some period of time, and it could be months or even a year before they decide, okay, they've been there 8 times and it's not there anymore, we're going to declare it, we're going to delete that from our index. That content on BMW transmissions is just not on ronstoltz.com anymore. So we're going to delete him out of the search results. I don't want to wait 6 months or a year for them to do that. Okay, so all search engines have some sort of front-end desktop, if you will, or a dashboard. And so I go to Google Dashboard, and they're aware of my URL to my website. And they have some tools there, and they'll tell me if I ask to re-index. They tell me, okay, we re-indexed it, but you got problems, man. And they'll list why they are problems. Duplicate pages is one of them. A not found page is another. A redirect. Some hyperlink redirected me to an unknown place. It's not there, or it redirected itself back to itself, or some such thing. They have all sorts of reasons to say they can't index your server content. Okay. They have some tools, but it is not easy. You have to go in and remove all of the URLs that are bad. For example, if you have 2 URLs and the only difference between the two is one uppercase letter, or you had a folder and it has a different name now than it had before, you have to go in and ask to request Google to remove each and every one of those separately. Now they say you can do a prefix removal, like https ronstoltz.com/lowercase word, and they'll take out all of the URLs that meet that prefix. Now I have tried that, and it doesn't appear to work like I think. maybe prefix really doesn't extend beyond the ronstoltz.com aspect. I can't put a slash in a folder name and another slash in another folder name, and I want to get rid of all of it. Those folders, what I'm trying to get rid of, I don't want them in it's not part of my website anymore, and I don't want Google to look at them. I don't want Google to index them. I don't want Google to consider them. Okay? It's a lot of work to clean up. That's what I'm saying. So if you're designing a website, you got to be really consistent on your nomenclature for everything, and you have to be consistent in use of that nomenclature. Every time you can publish as many times as you want to the server, but if you go and ask Google to do a reindex, or keep in mind they're going to automatically reindex it periodically anyway because you're already on the internet, you're going to have a mess on your to try to get in search results. Now, I'm also up on Bing, and initially it looked like they were going to do it quicker, easier, and faster than on Google. And in some sense, they do. My homepage, however, is not right. My homepage comes up as the very first results if I search my name, but if I try to click on any of the, I call them icons, on my website, they say page not found. However, that page is down lower in the search results, and if I click down there, it goes exactly to the page. So there's a problem on the indexing of my homepage, and I have now requested that they re-index that, and I think with correcting the same sort of thing, getting bad content out of their cache, they have the same problem. They keep a cache of the website, and periodically they'll come through and recrawl it again, and maybe they get a 404, that page is not there anymore, or they find a new page, and that has to be then somehow good enough content to be indexed and attached with certain keywords that they keep, that people tend to ask questions about. Okay, so this is all about building a website, and one, you can get it on the internet just by putting it on a server, and you can give people the URL address of your home page, and if they type that in as a URL, they'll get to your website, no problem. Its problem is the search engines. They keep a cache of the web pages they have searched and indexed. And once they're in there, they're hell to get out again. So if you've changed a name or a folder or eliminated something, you have to make a big effort going to the dashboard of whatever search engine it is and specifically pulling out URLs that are wrong. Otherwise, Google will keep on, if you do a reindex, ask for a reindex, Google will keep on finding these old remnants of old web pages you had maybe 6 months ago, but you don't have anymore, but they had it in cache one time, and now you got a duplicate of the same web page, or they'll flag it as a 404 error, and which isn't necessarily a bad thing, except it may impact the indexability, if that's such a word, of your current website. So anyway, this is a big warning. It's not as easy and cheesy as you think. Getting a website on a server is not particularly hard, and you can debug the crap out of it if you want. Some tools that also check your URL hyperlinks and your overall structure of the website is important. And you also create a sitemap. I'm not yet sure how the benefit of that is, but it helps you. It will find errors if there are there, and redundancies and so on. Sooner or later, though, you're going to have to go submit, and that's the best way. You have to submit your URL homepage of your website to Google and then ask for it to be indexed. And that's when they start looking down to all of the hyperlinks and is the content worthy of being indexed and so on and so on. Once you've done it once with Google, you've been indexed once by them, it's going to stay there a long time, and no matter how many times you change your server content, you may not catch Google isn't necessarily going to catch up with you, and it'll keep old content, and it may even cause index problems, such that the new and the old content aren't even displayed anymore because it's a duplicate page, and they don't know which one you want up there. So this is a warning on websites. I'm sure most professional people know this stuff, but if you and I want to build a website and get it on a search engine, which is the whole point. I mean, unless you want a website, you hand out a business card and got your URL on it, then no biggie. But if you want to be included in a Google search or a Bing search or a Yahoo search or a whatever search, you have to submit it to them. They have to index it. They have to find the content worthy. And if they has any sort of errors, it balls the whole thing up and then just hell to pay to try to get straightened back out again. So be consistent in your use of upper and lower case and your use of words. Search engines also don't like underscores, to separate words like black animal, black underscore animal. They certainly don't like spaces. You can't do black space animal. That won't fly. You have to do black hyphen animal for it to be a consistent URL. These are little tidbit things, but they make a big difference. This is Uncle Ron stuff. This had to do about website creation and getting it up and properly indexed on a search engine. And specifically Google, because that's the master of the universe. Today is the 31st of January. I hope it records okay.